Welcome to the Drunken Zombies Podcast. Get ready for your daily dose of zombie awesomeness, served up scary and fun with storytelling so good you'll be craving more brains and mayhem. Don't forget to rate and follow for more Drunken Zombies episodes.
I'm stoked to be here. It's always a thrill to tear into a fresh zombie tale.
Today we're blasting off into space. Buckle up as we explore Titanic Undead.
Space zombies. Now that's a combo I haven't encountered much. It's like they took the classic trapped on a ship trope and launched it into the cosmos. I'm all ears.
This story unfolds on the Titanic II, a luxury spaceship designed to ferry humanity's elite across the galaxy. Think champagne supernovas, zero-gravity cocktails, and a sudden zombie outbreak.
Okay, hold up. Luxury spaceship and zombies. That's an interesting juxtaposition. I'm already sensing some social commentary brewing here.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The virus isn't your run-of-the-mill pathogen. It's connected to a mysterious alien artifact.
An alien artifact. Now you've got my full attention. We're not just dealing with a biological threat here. There's a whole other layer of mystery and potential danger.
Our protagonist is Alex, a young engineer aboard the Titanic II. He's not one of the elite passengers, just a regular guy with a knack for problem solving. And as luck would have it, zombie survival.
I like that we have an everyman hero. It makes his struggle more relatable, and I'm curious to see how his engineering skills come into play against a horde of space zombies.
The story starts off with this eerie sense of calm before the storm. We see the grandeur of the ship, the unsuspecting passengers indulging in luxury, and then boom! A man collapses in the ballroom, exhibiting some seriously strange symptoms.
Ah, the classic false sense of security. It's a horror staple for a reason. It makes the outbreak that much more jarring and effective. But let me ask you, do you buy into that trope, or do you find it predictable?
I think it depends on the execution. Here it feels less like a cliche and more like setting the stage for the chaos that's about to unfold, especially with the whole luxury spaceship backdrop.
Good point. It plays into the contrast of the haves and have-nots, which might become a theme as the story unfolds.
Exactly. Now, Alex and a virologist named Dr. Lena seriously, who names their kid Lena Hart in a zombie story, try to win a captain, but he dismisses their concerns as space sickness.
Oh, come on, Captain. Underestimating the threat. That's practically asking for a zombie takeover. Have we learned nothing from countless other zombie stories?
Right, it's almost as if the writers are setting up the captain as a convenient scapegoat for the impending disaster.
Perhaps. But it's a reminder that even in the face of the unimaginable, people cling to the familiar, to explanations that fit their preconceived notions.
And clinging to those notions in a zombie outbreak is a recipe for, well, getting eaten. The virus spreads like wildfire, and the luxury spaceship, once a symbol of opulence, transforms into a chaotic, bloody battleground.
It's interesting how the setting itself becomes almost a character in this story. The confined space of a spaceship amplifies the sense of claustrophobia and danger. There's literally nowhere to run.
It's like a pressure cooker of zombie mayhem, and at the center of it all is Alex, who, to everyone's surprise, steps up and uses his engineering skills to fight back.
Ugh, the engineer turned zombie slayer. I'm really digging that. It suggests he'll be relying on his intellect and resourcefulness, not just brute force. What kind of strategies do you think he'll employ?
Well, knowing his background, I imagine he'd use his knowledge of the ship systems to his advantage. Maybe rerouting power sealing off sections, creating traps. It's a refreshing change from the typical shoot-'em-up approach we often see in zombie stories.
Definitely. He has the potential to be a very strategic and innovative survivor.
And he doesn't go alone. He teams up with Dr. Lena Hart to contain the outbreak, trying to isolate the infected in unused sections of the ship.
Containment is crucial, especially on spaceship. But I have a feeling things won't go as smoothly as they hope. Are we about to hit a snag?
Oh, you bet. Their plan hits a major roadblock. To fully secure the ship, they need to access the core systems, which means navigating through hordes of infected to reach the bridge.
Talk about a high-stakes mission. This raises the question of leadership. With the captain seemingly out of the picture, who's going to take charge?
That's a good question. It seems like Alex is stepping up. But is that enough in a situation like this? Does a zombie outbreak on a spaceship necessitate a traditional hierarchy, or does it call for a more adaptable, collaborative approach?
That's what I find so compelling about zombie stories. They force us to confront these fundamental questions about human nature and societal structures.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But before we get too deep into the philosophical implications, let's get back to the action. They assemble a team of survivors and attempt to reach the bridge, but it's a dangerous journey, and they suffer losses along the way.
That's the harsh reality of a zombie apocalypse. Even the smallest victories come at a cost. It underscores the human cost of this outbreak, the sacrifices made for the sake of survival. It makes the stakes feel real tangible.
And just when they think they've made it, they reach the bridge, only to discover that the captain and his officers have already succumbed to the virus. The very people they were hoping to warn are now leading the horde.
Oh man, that's a gut punch. It's not just a loss of leadership. It's a symbolic blow to their hope and sense of order. The captain turning into a zombie, it's a classic trope, but it never fails to be chilling.
It's a reminder that the infection doesn't discriminate. It can affect anyone, regardless of rank or authority. And it raises the question, if the virus can reach the highest levels of command, what hope is there for the rest of them?
It's a bleak moment, but it also forces them to confront the reality of their situation. They can't rely on traditional authority figures. They have to find their own way to fight back to survive.
And with their original plan in shambles, they shift their focus to understanding the virus itself. They realize they need to capture a live infected specimen to study.
That's a bold and risky move, but it makes sense. To defeat the enemy, you have to understand it. But capturing a zombie on a spaceship, that's got disaster waiting to happen written all over it.
It's a tense operation, and they don't pull it off without further losses. It highlights the constant danger they're facing, the ever-present threat of the virus, and the sacrifices they have to make to survive.
It's like a constant game of chess with lives hanging in the balance. But every move they make, every risk they take reveals something new about the virus, about themselves, and about the nature of survival.
And while Lena works tirelessly to analyze the virus, hoping to find a cure, things continue to unravel on the ship. Resources are dwindling, tensions are rising, and the survivors are running out of options.
It's a race against time, and the clock is ticking. They're fighting on multiple fronts, against the virus, against the infected, and against the ship itself, which is slowly becoming a tomb.
And then comes the ultimate nightmare. The zombified captain leading a horde of infected attacks the survivors' stronghold. It's an all-out battle, and the survivors are pushed to their absolute limits.
This is the climax of the outbreak, the moment of truth. Everything they've been through, every sacrifice they've made has led to this point. How do they even begin to fight back against their former captain?
It seems like all hope is lost.
But this is a zombie story. There's always a glimmer of hope, right?
Just when things are at their bleakest, Lena emerges from her lab with a breakthrough. She's discovered a weakness in the virus and created a serum.
A serum, that's huge. You mentioned earlier that the virus is connected to the alien artifact. Does this serum have anything to do with that?
That's what I'm dying to find out. Let's pick up there in part 2 of our discussion of Titanic Undead.
I'm on the edge of my seat already. So they've got this serum, possible weapon against the virus, but they're still trapped on a spaceship overrun by zombies. What happens next?
Well, remember that mysterious celestial body mentioned at the beginning of the story, the one that seemed like a random detail.
Oh yeah, I was wondering when that would come back into play. It's been lurking in the background this whole time like a cosmic Chekhov's gun.
Turns out it's not so random after all. The Titanic is seconds being pulled towards this massive celestial body. Their engines are barely functioning after the zombie battle, and they're on a collision course with something that could make a zombie outbreak look like a minor inconvenience.
Talk about escalating the stakes. They just fought off a horde of space zombies led by their zombified captain, and now they're facing a cosmic threat. That's what I call a bad day at the office.
It's a classic out of the frying pan into the fire scenario.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the fragility of their situation. They might have survived the initial outbreak, but they're still trapped on a damaged ship, hurtling towards certain doom.
But they have the serum, the one Lena developed from the virus that's connected to the alien artifact.
Yeah.
You have to wonder if there's a connection there, something they can exploit.
You're thinking what I'm thinking. Lena, being the brilliant scientist that she is, starts to put the pieces together. She realizes there might be a link between the serum and the artifact, a way to use the very thing that caused the outbreak to their advantage.
It's a classic storytelling element. The poison is also the cure. But how does that translate to a spaceship about to collide with a celestial body? What's the science behind this?
Well, it's a bit of a leap even for a zombie story. Lena theorizes they can use the serum's connection to the alien artifact to manipulate space itself. She thinks they can create a pulse that will repel the ship from the celestial body.
Hold on, manipulate space. That sounds like something straight out of Star Trek. Are we venturing into science fiction territory now?
That's what's so cool about this story. It blends these classic zombie tropes with elements of cosmic horror and science fiction. It keeps you guessing, and it pushes the boundaries of what's possible within the genre.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but how does it work? Does the story explain the mechanics of this space manipulation?
Not in detail, but Lena essentially rigs up a device to amplify the serum's energy signature. It's a desperate gamble, but with time running out, it's their only shot.
So they're betting their lives on a theory based on an alien artifact they barely understand. That's brave, or maybe just plain crazy.
A little of both, I'd say. It's their resilience, their refusal to give up, even when all hope seems lost.
I'm guessing this leads to a pretty tense scene.
Oh, absolutely. The survivors gather on the bridge, watching as Alex and Lena activate the device. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Everyone knows this is their last stand.
It's a classic do-or-die moment, and it makes you realize the weight of their decisions. They're not just fighting for their own survival, they're fighting for the future of humanity.
Exactly. And then it happens. The pulse erupts from the ship, this blinding wave of energy that engulfs the Titanic day.
Okay, I need a visual here.
Right.
What does this pulse look like? Is it a shockwave? A beam of light? A swirling vortex of cosmic energy? The story's got to give us something to work with.
It's described as a wave of pure force, and it's powerful enough to shake the entire ship. It's a visual spectacle, to the power they've unleashed.
And it works. They actually managed to repel the celestial body.
Against all odds, yes.
Yeah.
The ship shudders violently as it's pushed away from the celestial body, narrowly avoiding a catastrophic collision.
Oh, whew, what a relief. But they can't be out of the woods yet, can they? What's the state of the ship after that stunt?
Battered, but still afloat. They've escaped certain doom, but they're still stranded in space with a damaged ship, limited resources, and the lingering threat of the virus.
And the alien artifacts. Let's not forget about that. They might have used it to save themselves, but it's still a huge mystery. Where did it come from? What is its purpose?
Those are the questions that haunt the survivors as they limp away from the celestial body. They've stared into the abyss, and they've come back changed. They've seen the power of the artifact, the potential for both destruction and salvation, and they know they can't ignore it.
So where do they go from here? Do they try to study the artifact, or do they just want to get as far away from it as possible?
That's what we'll find out in the part 3 of our discussion of Titanic Undead.
Yeah.
They've dodged a cosmic bullet, but they're still far from home, carrying this heavy knowledge, this terrifying experience, and this mysterious artifact.
You said it. Imagine returning home after facing a zombie apocalypse on a spaceship, knowing that the source of that outbreak is still out there somewhere in the vast universe. Talk about a burden.
This story really gets under your skin, doesn't it? It makes you think about the fragility of life, the resilience of the human spirit, and the mysteries that lie beyond our world.
Absolutely. What stood out to me was how Titanic Undead seamlessly blends classic zombie tropes with elements of science fiction. You have the confined space of a spaceship, the relentless pursuit of the undead, and the struggle for survival, but then you throw in this alien artifact, this cosmic twist, that adds a whole other dimension to the story.
It's like the writers took a familiar formula and injected it with something new, something that elevates the genre and forces you to think beyond the typical zombie narrative.
And the ending with the survivors returning to Earth carrying this heavy secret, it leaves you with so many questions. What will they do with the artifact? Will they be able to warn humanity in time? Will the virus resurface?
It's a cliffhanger that's both satisfying and unsettling.
Yeah.
Satisfying because it leaves you wanting more, but unsettling because it hints at the larger implications of their encounter. They've seen firsthand the devastating power of the artifact, and they know it can't be ignored.
This story goes beyond just surviving a zombie outbreak. It touches on the responsibility that comes with knowledge, the burden of knowing something that could change the course of human history. Do they share their experience risking widespread panic? Or do they keep it a secret, hoping to control a power they barely understand?
It's a moral dilemma with no easy answers. And it makes you wonder, how would you handle that kind of knowledge?
I honestly don't know. It's a chilling thought knowing that something so powerful, so potentially dangerous is out there in the universe. It makes you realize how little we actually know about the cosmos and the forces that might be at play.
It's both terrifying and exhilarating, isn't it? This sense of the unknown, the possibility that there are things out there that defy our understanding.
Titanic Undead is a story that stays with you long after you finish reading it. It's a thrilling, chilling, and ultimately hopeful reminder of the power of human ingenuity and the importance of never giving up, even in the face of the undead.
It's a reminder that even when faced with the unimaginable, humanity can find a way to fight back, to adapt, and to survive. And it leaves us with a lingering sense of wonder about what else is out there in the vast expanse of the universe. What other secrets, what other dangers, what other possibilities await us?
That's the beauty of zombie stories. They tap into our deepest fears, challenge our perceptions, and ultimately remind us of what it means to be human.
So listeners, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Titanic Undead? Have you encountered any other space zombie stories? Share your thoughts on our social media. And until next time, stay curious, stay scared, and stay tuned for more Drunken Zombies.